What's up, guys? Ben here. I'm bringing you another video today. This one's an interesting one, guys. I'm planning to release in the next couple of weeks videos breaking down sort of season recaps and off-season prints for all 12 CDL teams. And I kind of noticed a problem and came up with a solution at the same time. So to start, basically in these videos, I wanted to kind of break down the contract status and sort of the free agent status of all the players on these teams. Finding that information is not super easy. If you go to the Call of Duty League website, you go down to Player Tracker under this league section. There's this page that kind of lists all the transaction status for every season of the CDL. It's a little bit linear. It's almost a timeline function. There's some information missing. You have to kind of piece together sort of the journey of players. So it's not really super easy to figure out. So what I did is working yesterday with my chat, we went ahead and we filled out a sheet and got all the contract statuses of the players. I actually put together shout out Easy Mac with this list breaking down all of the statuses, where their deals stand, and a list of the free agent players for both ARs and subs. So let's dive in. So I think the kind of first step is to sort of explain how contracts work in the CDL. You're going to hear the term 1+1 a lot. So the way that contracts work is, let's say player A, rookie into the league 2 years ago, got an option, let's say with the Paris Legion, signed a 50K deal year one, 70K deal year two. That first year, you're good to go. The way the second year works, the +1 part of that deal, is that's what's called a team option. So it's not the option of the player in order to pick up that second year. The team has a certain amount of weeks after Call of Duty Champs to decide if they want to go ahead and pick up that second year. There are nuances to this. If we go over the Player Tracker website, the description here is something called the Game Launch Extension. It looks like last year there was an option to do sort of short-term extension to evaluate players. A little unclear if that's going to exist this year, but you may see that come into play. But overall, that's kind of in general how the 1+1s work. People that are at the end then of that second year of the 1+1 are considered free agents, so they can negotiate and sign with any team that they please. They don't really have to deal with their old team if they want to. They're perfectly free to make plays as they see fit. So taking a look at the list, couple of interesting things stand out to me. Last offseason was pretty big in terms of player availability. It was the third offseason window, if you count the offseason before the first year is the first offseason window, and one in which a lot of the players that were on their original deals expired and were free agents. But it's still a surprising number of players who seem to have re-signed after year one, finished their deals, and are free agents. I count, by my standards, 13 players here, so between ARs and SMGs on this list, that are going to be full free agents this offseason. There's quite a notable number of names on here that I think will drive some of the storylines as we head into the offseason. I think looking at this list of free agents, the ones that stand out to me, one is you've got 3 players in Minnesota: Attach, Preset, and Standy. We're all going to be free agents. That's obviously 3/4 to the Minnesota team. Super interesting to me. Minnesota's got an option to basically completely sort of squad wipe their team without really picking up team options here. And I think Attach especially is going to be a big driver this offseason. I can see him being a targeted free agent in his ability to play that sort of flex or main AR role, or even if he's going to try and get his hand back to being a sub, although I don't necessarily think that's what he should do. I think he's going to be sort of a targeted free agent. A couple of other notable players I think that are definitely going to sort of drive sort of the process over the next month or so. If we take a look at subs, Afro and Hydra stand out to me as the number two, the two best options on this list. I expect that New York will probably try and give Hydra a significant sum of money, but you never know, man. I mean, he's young, he's super talented. A lot of players are going to slide into his DMs. A lot of teams are going to sort it out. I expect him to kind of draw it out and probably get a pretty significant pay raise in the offseason, and it might not be on New York. Afro's another player that's on this list. Already most of London, I believe, if we scroll over, are re-signed. So this is a very similar situation to what we saw with CleanX last year. If London want to keep this team together, they're probably going to have to pay Afro a decent sum of money. And I know historically London, at least in the last 2 years, hasn't been giving the biggest contracts. So that's an interesting situation to watch to see if they're going to make an exception for probably their star player on the team, or if he's going to go elsewhere to one of the other more North American based organizations. Couple other kind of interesting sort of free agent storylines taking a look, especially on the AR list here. You get that Awakening Skies duo. They're both up. Florida, not an org that's going to traditionally splash the bank for players. So curious to see if they choose to re-sign both or only pick one. In that case, it'd be interesting to see which player is the odd man out. I could see Skies and Awakening definitely getting interest from a lot of other teams. Bigwig, I think, strikes many as a very raw and talented player, and with the right tutelage can probably round into a very high level superstar player. And Skies has been extremely solid at the AR since he's been in the league, but I think could definitely find his way into maybe a more competitive team if he wants to go in that direction. Another storyline, taking a look at this list, we got to talk about CLAYSTER. Obviously, the New York situation was a bit funky this year. He ended up being the odd man out as New York has done this run now to qualify for champs. Going to be very interesting to see where Clay goes, his contract status, what he's going to do. The craziest thing, if you think about it, this is like the first offseason and maybe ever where Clay has been a full free agent. So for the first time, he's got full control of his destiny. Clay is one of those players, and you're going to hear me say this a lot in my videos over the next few weeks, who I think a lot of organizations may, quote, give him the keys, which in pro speak means Clay will have the ability to really go to the organization and say, hey, here's a team I want. If you guys are good for it, let's lock and load. Let's get these players locked in. So I could see him maybe finessing into one of those situations. It's going to be very interesting to see what teams are willing to probably meet his very high salary demands. And then finally, we got to talk about the Toronto situation. Last year, they went into the offseason with Kleenex being the only free agent. They were able to lock him in, and I was a little like up and down for a sec, or at least that's what people like Chrono reporting. Now, though, most of that Toronto team is a free agent. It's going to be interesting to see if they try and re-sign all three of these players. If you look at their roster, they do have Scrappy and Hicksy sitting on the bench, and both are really capable players that I think are ready for the next level. So I'm very curious to see what Toronto does with their camp. If they don't re-sign all these players, they bring in Scrappy or Hicksy in, or they bring in someone else. That's going to be one to watch. I think the last thing I want to point out on this list is you see all these rows in red. I talked about earlier that the player tracker is missing a bit of information. On all of these players, it's a bit unclear, the ones in red, of what their actual contract status is. I'll give you an example, like Reese Vivid on Boston Breach. It's unclear if he signed a new deal when he got traded to Boston, and therefore, like, is he on the same deal the new deal that he signed when he joined Florida? That's super unclear, not clear on the website. People like Mac, for example, it seemed like maybe based on the website, the CDL website, that was more of a team option pickup and maybe like almost like a sign and trade type situation with New York. But again, the website's not really clear, so I'm not really sure if he's a free agent or not. Same kind of situation with Kyler. In general, just really wasn't listed, although I don't think his contract status necessarily matters in that situation. If or not, I think if he wanted an offer, they'd probably let him go. Optics always been that kind of org. If a player gets a good offer, if General gets courted by one of these teams, I don't think they're going to hold him in any sense of the word there. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and link this tracker, at least the public facing version, out onto the web. If you see any errors or any issues, if you're a team or a player or an agent and something on here is kind of messed up, please let me know. You can hit me up in the DMs on Twitter. My DMs are open, so I'll go ahead and respond and we can get that adjusted for you. And yeah, we're going to be using this doc a lot. I'll be doing videos, like I said, over the next couple of weeks, breaking down some of these team situations going in the offseason. So we're going to use this as reference to kind of talk about the things and storylines around those teams and potential options in those videos. So be on the lookout for those. Those are going to start rolling out this weekend with the teams that did not qualify for champs. That'll do it for this video, guys. Appreciate all your support as always. If you're interested, check my description below for my stream destination, for my Twitter. Would appreciate, obviously, if you can like and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment of what you think of this tracker. I'm always open to any feedback on this. Bro, just honestly, I made a V1 of this and it was super ugly, and then Austin, aka Easy Mac, hit me up and was like, yo, you got to clean this up. So shout out to Austin for cleaning that up, but that'll do it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much.